Sorry about that, guys. So, so this one, make sure to get it back. So yeah, so on the MP side, like I said, we got the $200,000 balance, which is their mortgage loan. Arrow indicates it going down, meaning that over time it keeps going down. And then the arrow at the bottom, these guys right here, it's going to indicate over the course of 30 years. So what we're saying is that $200,000 balance will keep going down as time goes on. So what that means, you're not always going to owe the $200,000 option. So that's going to set you up to be able to get those lower face amounts, maybe the 175, the 150s, as well as showing the 30 years right here. We can do the math. Okay, you guys are 40 now and 45. You're going to end up being 70 and 75 at the end of that 30-year period. So what this allows us to do as well is give them their simple nugget. So what I've found to be the game changer for me, it's a little bit of free information. Now, granted, they might already heard about this from their mortgage loan officer, the mortgage broker, but an extra one house payment a year knocks off 7.5 to 10 years. So, for example, if their mortgage payment is $2,000 a month, basically an extra should be $160 per month will knock off 7.5 to 10 years off the loan time frame. So which for them, I mean that's going to be huge. If you take out the full loan balance, the full 30 years, that 200,000, you're going to pay about $400,000 worth of costs because of the taxes and interest on there. So I mean, it's a huge game changer if you can knock off 7.5 to 10 years, thus setting them up for that 20-year plan, the 25-year, maybe even a 15-year, depending on how aggressive they're going to be with trying to knock off that mortgage payment. So a lot of people get into, usually you'll find this working the best. It's on smokers, people that they're going to have a higher premium because they end up smoking, higher mortgages, so you can talk them down to those lower numbers. So kind of get the best of both worlds and be able to show those options. And everything we do, which will stem into even on the final expense side, is something we call a 3-option close, or some call it the alternate close. What that really means, we're giving them multiple options to choose from, with the main focus that they're going to end up picking usually the middle option. Does it always happen that way? No, but more times than none, the logical approach, they're going to end up choosing what's the middle ground, not the highest one, not the least expensive. What's in the middle, kind of the norm, if you will. Let's just say this is usually Foresters, and this is going to be KCL. So on my options, they're going to look just like this. Draw a little line like that. So we'll have price here, price here, price here, price, price, price. And then this will have a price, money back. So some people think I'm crazy because right now you're looking at 9 different prices. So the way I explain this, so some of you might have heard it before, the renting versus owning. So what is that? Basically, renting versus owning, it's going to be your basic term options. In our case, 20 and 30 years, we'll just say Foresters, where the price stays the same and the amount of coverage stays the same for the set period of time, whether it be a 20-year or 30-year option. At the end of that policy, if nothing happens, you go your way, the insurance company goes their way. All that money you spent strictly just for peace of mind. On the alternative, just like owning, because assuming that they're not owning their home, they just bought one, right? And they rented at probably some point. Owning is just like owning your actual house. Only difference, granted, it is a little bit more expensive, but the same benefits you're going to get with renting, locked in coverage for a set number of years. The price stays the same, the amount of coverage stays the same. The only difference at the end of that policy, instead of you going your way with nothing to show for it, this option gives you 100% of the money back that you spent. That's why these little brackets are here. This is where you write the amount of money that they get back at age 70 or end of their 30-year term. But I'm prefacing that it does cost more money. But allowing us to put these down just like this, two things end up happening. We're either going to spend all of our time looking on this side of it, only focusing on 6, or we're going to spend all of our time on this side of it, only looking at 6. It just depends on the client. So it's on paper, you're showing 9 prices, yes, but in reality, we're only going to be actually talking between 6 of them, whether it be 6 of the basic options or a set of basic and a set of the ROP, justifying the difference between the extra 30, sometimes $40 a month in premium, maybe a little bit more than that depending on their age, between a basic 30 and a 30-year return of premium. So what that does, like I said, if they're looking at the basic side of it, what's going to happen, them seeing this price point for the 30-year ROP, if it's going to be that higher number compared to this one, it's going to make this option look a lot better than that 30-year ROP. Same thing is going to happen with this option here, meaning they're not going to want the lowest option. They're also going to want the middle ground. So if you look at it, this column is now the middle option for us. It's the same way as this column can be the middle option for us. So it's almost like playing tic-tac-toe. Like it's very comparable if you want to go as far as saying that. But it's all probably what's the best word to use on it? It's all it's all psychological. That's probably the best way to put it. To people, they want to have the best available option, but yet they don't want to spend, in most times, the highest dollar amount possible. So what this does, it sets them up to either take a lower option down here that fits budget, or we're going to steer them into not the highest plan, but the next best thing. They still get the value out of it. So it's all relative to value. Now, that looks really confusing if those that are watching. Are there any questions on that, or anyone have any trouble ever showing a term illustration in terms of quotes when asked questions on them? Feel free to unmute yourself. You can ask that question. All right, no questions. That's good. All right, so next thing, I'm just going to show it. I'm not going to explain it on this one. I just released a video previous weeks on the mortgage protection payment plans. Same thing applies. You're going to run it down at the bottom of the same sheet of paper while we have it down here. And like I said, I like to run it as 12, 18, 24, and then the max the carrier ends up giving out, which most cases it's going to be a 35,000. Could be the max out. And same would apply. Put down the name of the carrier you're looking at, or what you identify after their health, which one they're going to qualify for, whether using underwriting guides, group text, Best Plan Pro, whatever the case of it is. Once you identify what carrier you're going to stick with, or if you have your primary option you like to use for everything, said always run it 12, 18, 24. Reason I do that, we find a lot of people, before I used to show 6, 9, and 12, I used to sell a bunch of 6s, which would leave a bunch of money on the actual table for me. And instead of getting that 12 month, which is the ideal plan, I mean, the 12 months is the magic number for a payment protection plan. A year's worth of cushion is the right amount of time in most cases. Some people, they want to go a little bit further, do 18 months, or people that have smaller mortgages in that $500, $600 a month range, you're probably going to gravitate more towards a 24-month period in order to get them up to anywhere between an $8,000 to a $10,000 policy. Otherwise, you try to tell them a 12-month plan over a $600 mortgage, that's only going to be a $3,600 policy. So you got to keep that part in mind on those smaller mortgages at least. No, that's not right. That's going to be a $7,200 policy. Excuse me. So with that being said, like I said, I do 12, 18, 24. If these are too high, then you can also pivot, show them a 9-month option, and go down from there. It's always easier to go down than it is to go back up, which goes into our final expense section. So like I said, didn't want to spend too much time on it. We did videos on it, so if I can get this thing to, there we go. So next one, we're gonna go to the T-graph. So if you're doing final expense, definitely recommend using the T-graph. If you don't have a copy of the T-graph, there is one inside of the field printables inside the Dropbox. You just print that thing out. And like I said, I take that thing into any type of final expense situation. Even looking at some of the Medicare supplement options now, or even the Medicare Advantage plans, this would be a good tool to use as well. Now, they do have a special one just for Medicare with a couple of additional questions for their Medicare number, primary care doctors, PCP IDs. There's a lot of different things that they have inside that Medicare T-graph that can definitely help if you're strictly going in for a Medicare first option. If you're going in for a life first option, reason I like this, so Ricky did a real good job of actually breaking down the key points, which is essentially four. First one, who do you currently have for your Medicare supplement? Open-ended question. A lot of seniors don't know the difference between a Medicare supplement and a Medicare Advantage. So asking about a supplement is totally legal. You're not cross-selling. If they tell you about their Advantage plan, then you just take a little bit of notes. And if you're certified to sell it, that's something to come back in 2 days to get that taken care of, or get the scope of appointment signed first, and then you can actually continue the same day. Get their meds, how frequently they take them, what they're taking them for. It's the second section. Third section and fourth sections, it's honestly where all the magic happens. Very, very important, even for NP agents, just the concept of being able to call into a carrier and verify what they actually have goes a long way into your credibility, as well as your ability to be able to service this client to the full potential you can service them. Like I said, 2 weeks ago, I would have never found out. I would have never got a case that, like I said, I was a Ricky agent 4 years ago when I first wrote those same clients. They sent another lead card in, and lo and behold, I missed a AIL policy worth $180 a month when I was a brand new agent. Didn't do anything with it. Second time around seeing them, I made sure to lock that thing down. I got something done with it. So, but I would never got that information if I didn't ask, what do you currently have in place for burial, final expense, pre-need, whole life term, universal life, uncovering what they really already have. And what that allows us to do is this little four chart graph. So when we call in, we want to find out a couple different things. We want to know how much they're actually paying. So they're paying $100 a month. What's their face amount? Let's say they only have $8,000 policy. I forgot the cash value. Let's say they've had this policy for several years, and the cash value is at, let's just say $1,000. And then the reduced paid up. So the difference here is, a lot of people get tripped up. Cash value is the cash that the client can get right now. If they surrender that policy, that's the amount of money minus any type of loans or surrender fees. That's what they're going to get the check for. Reduced paid up is the amount of money they get coverage-wise if they tell that insurance company to keep the cash value. If they keep the cash value, a lot of times the reduced paid up would be 2, sometimes 3, almost 4 times that amount of that cash value. So in this situation, let's just say their reduced paid up is $3,000. And say, Mrs. Jones, okay, turns out you're paying about $100 a month for that policy. For these numbers to probably happen, let's just say it's a graded policy. It was originally a 2-year wait, thus the higher premium. At $100 a month with a graded option, whether it be a 30-70 split, whether it be a 2-year waiting period, straight up ROP, you got a policy worth $8,000. Your cash value is $1,000. So if you said no, I'm done with this policy, they're going to mail you a check for $1,000 from Mrs. Jones. But if you tell them to keep that check, you're going to get a policy that's already paid up, no more payments necessary, worth $3,000. So right now, all we're going to do, we're going to bank this information. We're not going to do anything with it just yet. So say we should get whole and then see options below. All right, so we look at our different plethora of carriers. We realize, let's just say she had COPD, right? And given whatever company it was, they gave her a graded option. Thus, the higher premium of $100 a month for $8,000. For the example's sake, let's just say she's for any type of cash value. Let's say she's 2 to 4 years into the actual policy, thus making this would be a day one payout for $8,000. I understand that piece. But let's say we ran some other quotes, and the first thing I do with this one, if I know someone that has a policy, I'm going to start the first quote at $100 a month. I want to mirror exactly what she's already paying. So what that means, in my head, what I'm thinking, if I can get this woman, let's say she's trying to get $11,000 of coverage, or let's just say maybe she's trying to get 12,000 or just 10. In my head, what I'm thinking is, okay, we already have a policy for $100 a month. She's already used to paying that amount of money. I'm not trying to go down in money, but we're going to show her the option as well. But if we can leverage this reduced paid up option right here and kind of put that in conjunction with what we got going on here, we really only have to find her a policy, depending on how much she's trying to get, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. That's all we have to try to find her for $100 a month with a COPD client. So let's just say, for the extreme example, let's say Liberty Bankers, right? She goes standard. Standard 10s and Liberty Bankers, they're comparable to Transamerica, depending on the age. They're very close. Or maybe for this, we can use it like the Assurant option. It'd be very, very cheap for it, right? Let's say we'll use the Assurant ones because I know it's cheaper for sure. So let's say for this case, for $100 a month with Assurant, that policy ends up being at $100, you can get $10,000. So this face amount goes from $10,000. So already off the bat, we're going to be able to give her the same premium. You can get her $2,000 more coverage. So then from there, we have a choice to make. Miss Jones, do you want to take the $1,000 of cash, or for the same $100, do you want a policy worth about $13,000? Starting at 8, now we're up to 13. Some might ask, where'd you get 13 from? So if we can get a new policy worth $10,000 for $100 a month, then we add in the reduced paid up option. She ends up keeping that $1,000 cash there. That other company gives her a reduced paid up worth $3,000. Mrs. Jones is now covered for $13,000 of whole life coverage for the same $100 a month she's already spending. So she's not spending a penny more than what she started with, but she's coming out $5,000 better coverage. Reason this usually happens, like I said, if people write graded or modified products, they're going to have a higher premium, which in turn, it's going to build cash value at a little bit higher because it's a higher premium. So, and with the products we have, able to get people day one coverage, even though they might be a little bit older, a year or two, or sometimes 3 or 4 years older, you usually can come in and get something very comparable price-wise and save them money on the front end. So even if we just didn't mess with the reduced paid up and just got cash, she's now up $8,000. She went from $8,000 to $10,000. She's up $2,000 for the same premium. Plus, she has $1,000 cash inside her pocket now. So either which way you slice it, she's going to come out better than what we found her, right? Does that make sense? That's usually a really confusing concept. Any questions on reduced paid up, reasons call the carrier? Nada? We're all pros on that? All right, I'm not going to argue that. That's good. All right, last thing. We got some fun announcements to talk about today. All right, so this is a nice little sheet. Actually, make this to a PDF. Okay, nice little sheet that Tip Restriction Enclosures posted. If you need a copy of that, it's on their Facebook page, but it's also inside the Dropbox as well. So it's a reason I like it. Um, they kind of do once again, it's an alternate close. Three options. Whether you want to quote it out as basic, standard, premium, gold, platinum, silver. I mean, it really doesn't matter what you want to quote it as, or options 1, 2, and 3. A, B, C. It like I said, doesn't really matter. So you have a couple different options. If you use something like this, you're able to show them the basic option, the most popular. They just put most popular there, just that extra 15,000 to compete against the inflation cost, as well as the premium, getting the most coverage possible. So with this, we're going to take the concept of just the premium barrel option, maxing out the program. So basically, if you were on Tyler Reese's call a couple weeks ago, or any of his calls previous, when he talks about the final expense options, he does a real good job of, he still does an alternate close, but he shows them individually. So what that means, he gets all their medical information. So the same thing would qualify for, oh, there you go, Ray. You should be able to see it now. Same thing would qualify for as if we did the T-chart, right? So just for this illustration, let me just erase this real quick. So let's just say we're doing the T-chart. So they got nothing in place. They're new to final expense, new to the insurance world. They're trying to do the right thing, right? So after you gather all their meds, get all this good stuff, figure this out. They got nothing in place. There's nothing there. All right. No assets, cash, CDs, IRAs, nothing there. All right. So let's see what you guys end up qualifying for. So based off of the meds, no, Tyler does a really good job of, I wouldn't call it acting, but it's acting very surprised at what the premium actually is. So it's, keep in mind, the clients are always reading you. So if you react to a high premium in an unfavorable way, they're going to act the same exact way. So they're going to be mirroring how you're acting towards them. So if you act as if $150 a month for 35,000 is totally normal, they're going to think it's totally normal. If you make a real big deal, like, oh wow, it's actually $150 a month, they're going to start second guessing, like, oh, he's not really sure about that. This one might be a little bit higher than normal. So the way that you mirror clients is all relative, and try not to make any type of remarks one way or the other, giving them any indication that this could be a higher price product, or if it's, or the line I like to use, don't shop with your pocketbook. So even though your budgets might be different at this current state, don't let that affect the prices you end up showing other clients. Just show them the actual numbers. They're always going to gravitate towards what makes sense for their budget. Remember, you always can go down, but it's very difficult to go back up. So based off of this, oh wow, Mrs. Jones, you actually qualify for quite a few different products. Let's look at this one. Let's think about maxing out, getting the most possible coverage for your age and your current medications. You can tell them the name of the carrier. So let's just say with a Mutual, for about $35,000, that premium comes out to $160 a month. It's a lot better than what I thought it was going to come back as. The $160 a month, does that fit budget, or how does that look? You sit back and you just let them answer. They're going to say one of two things. Yes, that fits budget, means you just close the deal, start the application, or yeah, I'm not really sure if that actually fits budget. Okay, that's fine. No worries. Like I said, let's see what they come back at for let's say 30,000. Let's just say in this case 30,000 comes back at, oh, still it's not too bad. It's $145 a month. Now, Ms. Jones, how does that one look? Does that fit budget? No, it's still kind of high. From that point, once you go through this option twice, so showing them the max, showing them one step down, whether it be 5,000 down, 7,000, it doesn't really matter. The third time you do it, you're going to go into your normal quote showing a 3-option close. So they already said no to this, put a line through it, and this next one is going to be 25 and 20. So let's just say this goes down to 135. And then lastly, let's just say it's at 110. All right, so Mr. Jones, of those options, any of that makes sense budget-wise? 145 for 30,000, 135 for 25, and all the way down to 110 for 20,000. How do those options look? And then you just let them let them pick. And then if she can't decide between those 3 options, okay, Mrs. Jones, what number makes sense for your actual budget? Just ask a straightforward question. Hey, I was actually trying to spend about $80 a month. Okay, no problem. $80 a month. Now, at this point, you can do the same thing. Start the application process. She's already committed to spending $80 a month. This indicates, like I said, she's not really too keen about the face amount of coverage. She's more budget driven. So it's more or less she's looking for the value of spending that amount of money, not so much how much can she get for $80 a month. So keep those two things separate. Those are two distinct things. So let's say in this example, for $80 a month, it goes down to, let's just say, $14,000. Still, if you said you can show her this, okay, $80 comes out about 14,000. Like I said, I'm not going to ask her, does this look good? I'm just always going to assume the close. Once she tells me a budget amount she's trying to spend, that means that she wants to buy something. So don't overthink it. A lot of agents, they want to overthink the process of asking for the sale, asking for the approval. It's you run through your options, and she comes back and says, "Hey, I want to spend $80 a month or $50 a month, whatever the number actually is." She is buying. That is a buying sign. Don't second guess. Don't waste any more time. Just go with your gut. Start the application process. If something's going to come up in terms of objection wise, it's going to be at the very end, asking for the voided check or asking for her to sign the application. But if you just assume the close as you normally would, knowing that you showed her technically 4 different options, and then she comes back and says how much she wants to spend, since she's already bought, she's closing herself, and you're basically just order taking from that standpoint. So the reason I bring that up is this sheet, I think, is a really good sheet where I think a lot of people, they end up only going towards the basic numbers. So you're getting a lot of feedback is you get a lot of the $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 only cases. The reason you get those smaller cases is not because all your clients have less money. It's more inclined to that's the options you're actually showing. If you start showing the bigger options, you start getting the bigger premiums. So you see a lot of people start posting, they're selling $3,000 cases, they're selling $2,000 premiums, $1,500. It's not because that's what the client qualifies for. That's because it's only $10,000 because they're sick. They're showing them the value of having those higher options and maxing out the program. And worst case option, if they still balk at a 35,000, balk at a 15,000, then you have the basic option to fall back on, being at 10,000, or you can keep going down further. Maybe we split the difference here. You go 12.5. Let's see how much $12,500 looks like. Either way, give them 3 different options to choose from, and then you want to follow up with, okay, Mr. Jones, what budget number are you comfortable with spending on a monthly basis? Or how much were you hoping it was going to end up being a month? Because in doing it that way too, you're already going to be able to show them some realistic prices. Or this one, let's just say this one was, let's switch colors. So let's just say this one was $250 a month. 15,000 goes down to 120, and then 10,000, you're looking at right at 75. So what this does, you've already shown them, here's the range of numbers you're looking at budget-wise. So you already shot those options down. And then from there, just because these 2 don't make sense, doesn't mean that something right here might not make sense. Where this option This one might be, let's just say, $90 a month versus 120, or closer to $100 a month. It probably would be 100 actually. I had to do the right math. So just because 120 doesn't make sense doesn't mean $100 doesn't make sense for it, or 75. So you still give yourself the options to be able to transition and get through those different options, but you're not going to catch yourself being stuck only showing $5,000, $7,500, $10,000 options. The most coverage people are going to buy is that $10,000 plan, which it's only going to be $55, $60 a month, the average pricing. Now, with that being said, are most of your cases going to end up being between that $50 and $70 price point? Probably so, because that's what final expense cost is. But it doesn't mean that every single client has to spend $50 to $70 a month. You're going to find some of those clients that are, especially the healthier, a tad bit younger, where they want to max out what they can totally get while they're working and get the most coverage possible. So don't cut yourself short and only show them $5, $7,500, and $10. Don't be afraid to show that $35,000. Give them the premium package. Here's the most coverage you can possibly get. Locking it down at a younger age. You don't have to worry about the inflation eating up a bunch of your money or having to go get another policy another 10, 15 years down the road. Here's how much that option costs. Then this one, $15,000. Here's how much this one costs. Granted, it's the standard package. It's going to help protect against that inflation period for a short period of time. And then here's the basic option. So if something happened tomorrow with the prices that they usually are right about now, between $8,000 to $12,000, this is kind of that middle ground option of what you guys should get for that $10,000 coverage wise. But does that make sense? Any questions on any of that stuff in terms of thought process? You guys think this will help show value to your clients, be able to show them better options, sometimes get the higher price option, but be able to show them the full plethora of what's available to them and they can capitalize on it?
Yeah, I like this form. I think
Yeah,
it's good. It's good.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a nifty little form. I mean, you also can go in, for example, can I clear? I don't think I can clear it. There we go. You also can do something like this too. You can actually take the same form, and what you could do is just take out the 10,000, 15,000. Basically, get rid of this. Just keep it blank, and then you can actually pivot and use whatever options you want to show them. Especially if they're, let's say, younger clients. When I say younger, 50 to 60 or 50 to 65, if you run it as this, where all you got to do is leave that part blank, and then that allows you just to be able to write in, let's say they're a little bit younger. So the premium option, we're still 35,000. The standard barrel option is going to be 25,000, and then the basic is only 15,000. So leaving it blank could be a good possibility as well. Just when you go to print it out, just before you print it, just either use a tablet to erase everything inside there, and you can actually fill it in as you want it to be seen. So you're not stuck by the 10, 15, 35. You actually can break down whatever options you want to show them. Or just take the idea of the whole concept. That's the whole purpose of this. You can write this on a blank piece of paper. It doesn't really matter. Just the concept of don't be afraid to show that higher number. A lot of agents are afraid, or they think just because they're talking final expense in seniors means you have to only show them $5,000, $7,500, and $10,000 policies. A lot of you that have been running final expense have seen people start asking questions. Hey, I already have 5,000 or 10,000. I want more, and they're coming to buy more when they're older age, and they're not usually happy with the premium. Now, sometimes if we do the previous step of being able to call in and figure out what they already have, face amount, cash value, reduce paid up, we might be able to help those clients a little bit further. and leverage those options and get them either some money back, some reduced paid up options. But don't be afraid to be able to offer them their right package to start with. Whether it be 25,000, 35, 15, 20, it doesn't really matter the actual number, but be able to show that to them to get them the right program now. Because if it doesn't make sense budget wise, they're gonna tell you. And you just tear it down. Okay, then let's put a line through that. This one, let's look at 10,000. And you put a line through the price and put it over here. Whatever the case of it actually was, you can be able to make it make sense for them. You always want to keep the sheet as well. Don't leave the sheet behind for them. It's just illustration purposes. But with that being said, thank you guys for hopping on.